another episode of Take a Deep Breath with Yvonne Daniels podcast. And of course, I am your well-being girlfriend, Yvonne Daniels, encouraging you and helping you embrace the power of giving your body permission to relax for better choices, health, and wealth. We're doing that one deep breath at a time because, man, I tell you, it's so important. All you need is an open heart and an open mind and a willingness to go and to grow. All right. So, uh, Matthew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing today?
I am wonderful. My trusty producer over here. So, you know what we've got to do to kick this episode off, what we do every episode. So, let's take that deep breath. Come on.
Yep.
Yeah, got to do that. And doesn't it make a difference, Matt?
Oh, yeah.
It does. It does. Seriously, it gives your body permission to relax, and it just helps. And you can do it as many times as you want, whenever, wherever you are. All right, so over this way, we're all about changing health narratives and leaving health legacies because that's what it's all about. That health is the wealth that we all are born with. We talk about all the other wealth, and it's important to learn about that. But to know that we've got that health that we were born with, that is wealth, and we can leave that as a legacy is so important. And of course, we know that means we got to do some stuff, even if we're 20 like Matt. He represents the young end. Or if you're a woman of a certain age like myself, hey, we've got to get enough sleep. We've got to accept responsibility for our well-being. We've got to take those deep breaths as often as we need to. We've got to tune into our bodies, and we've got to move our bodies. So on this episode, we are talking about the fact that October is Emotional Intelligence Awareness Month. All right. So do you think about your emotional intelligence a lot, Matt?
What do you mean by that?
Your emotion. Oh, wow. Well, thank you. Of course, leave it to my trusty producer to ask the great question. All right. So emotional intelligence. So let's get right into this for sure. Decades of research shows that emotions shape our attention, our memory, and our decision making. So emotional intelligence can really bear on the decisions that you make. It means we've got to handle our emotions. So when we talk about that, Matt, do you look at how you handle your emotions? Are you think you're pretty good at that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I think we all can work on that though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
we all can work on that. So handling our emotions improves how we think under real conditions, not just how, we think or we think we're, feeling and how we're handling that. So stress, it narrows our focus. So stress is a real big part of this. It speeds our reactions. This is where deep breaths come in. This is why this is so important. So this is going to tie in really, really great. Calm, when you're calm, which is what taking deep breaths helps you to do. That helps you widen your view. It allows for nuance in situations. So skills, it helps you to enhance your skills when you're handling different situations. It helps you to protect your judgment when the situations get complex. All right. So, we can be in situations, say if you're on your job, your boss is really getting on your nerves. He's saying some stuff that you don't like. You fly off the handle. You may say some stuff that may cause you to lose that job. Not good. All right. So being emotionally intelligent, knowing how to kind of calm yourself down, how to handle your emotions when you really need to in these high stake situations is really, really important. All right. One that's really tough for me, and I continue to work on it, is when I'm driving. Usually I'm pretty good in a lot of situations, but when I am driving, sometimes people can do stuff, and you probably can relate to me to what I'm saying. People can do stuff sometimes, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Really? Why? So for me, driving is one of those times when I really have to make sure that I'm taking my deep breaths. I'm really being emotionally intelligent, really understanding that, okay, I know this really ticked me off, but what I do, all right, the decisions I make, it's really going to have consequences on me, maybe another driver, somebody else that's in the car with me, whoever else is in the car with the other person, all of that. So these are the things that we have to take into consideration. All right. So some benefits, other benefits, I should say, of emotional intelligence are sharper self-awareness. All right. And that's one of the things we talk about just with the overall podcast, taking responsibility, being self-aware. It's the basis of other emotional skills because that turns inner signals into usable guidance about triggers. Oh, triggers. That can be a whole nother episode, but those triggers, it can limit inner guidance. All right. So we want to make sure that we are checking our patterns of how we deal with stuff when we're under high pressure. All right. And it's just very important that sharper self-awareness is going to take you a long way. Better self-regulation. And a lot of times it can be hard to regulate yourself, just in what you're thinking. That means you got to know what's going on with you. All right. Steadiness is contagious. All right. Tone, pacing, those social skills that can either calm or escalate you. All right. So tone is very important. When people are saying stuff to them, sometimes it's not what people say, but it's how they say it, the tone they say it in. And that can relate to us as well. I'm the kind of person that if someone gets kind of ticked off with me, and I don't know, Matt, if you're like this too, but if someone gets ticked off at me, instead of me going, I don't know what they're getting so mad at, I tend to check myself and say, well, what tone did I say that in? Maybe I could have said that different. Maybe there's a reason that person got ticked off. So all this is kind of what they call doing inner work. All right. So regulating, deeper empathy. Do you think you're pretty empathetic, Matt?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I would say so too. I deal with you on a regular basis, so I would say so. But empathy is the capacity to sense what others feel, like I just kind of noted, and need without abandoning your own perspective or your own boundaries. All right. It translates into better timing, tone, and content, especially in feedback, negotiation, and support during stressful periods. Better timing. All of that is so important because empathy reduces your misinterpretation and premature judgment. It increases psychological safety, which is the precursor to learning and honest risk taking on any team. Safety first. All right. And that even comes with ourselves. You want to make sure that you are safe and keeping yourself safe as well. You get clearer communication, and communication is a big word that we throw around a lot, but emotionally intelligent folks, or when you're trying to be more emotionally intelligent, those communicators pair facts with relational clues. That reduces defensiveness and increases your buy-in to pair wisely with the fact that we have to take clues from stuff. We can't just bounce and just react based off of what we see. It's good to kind of take some things into consideration. So that clear communication is just so important. And then of course what we all want is stronger relationships. Relationships, that's another episode. Relationships are those things that can just really be challenging, and that's any relationship, husband, wife, mother, daughter, mother, son, father, daughter, father, son, brother, sister, friends, cousins, employees. It just is really, really important to make sure that we are cultivating and trying to have as strong relationships as possible. And, relationships thrive on reliability. All right. And that includes emotional intelligence. That makes reliability visible through quick repairs. So if someone offends you, do you find it easy, or do you find yourself forgiving and trying to repair rifts in relationships quickly? What do you think, Matt?
Well, when it comes to relationships and all that stuff, me and my friends, we tend to say some very not nice things to one another. And, we don't say it like we're meaning it. It's all fun and games. It's all jokes, stuff like that. But I tend to say I can take joking, but I won't take disrespect. I think there's a clear difference in the two. Like if you and your friends are joking around and they make a joke, that's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think you can tell when someone's clearly trying to be disrespectful towards you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take on that.
Right. Okay. So glad that we have this younger representation in here, right? Because some of the things that we may say and do when we're younger, maybe we may not do that when we're older, but there are things, as you mature that you do. And we still just have to kind of take into consideration those things that we're saying to other folks, and also things that people are saying to us. And if something is said, if we do get offended, that we go to that other person. This is how you continue to create those strong relationships. But being able to do that means we have to strengthen and cultivate our own emotional intelligence. All right. Because we want to continue to have strong relationships. Collaboration comes out of that as a benefit. Innovation. We don't want to break any of that. All right. So, and then, he talked about friends, but also in those close partnerships, the same skills replace scorekeeping with curiosity. So instead of saying, that's the second time you've said that. Well, sometimes it's kind of like, well, that's the second or third time you've said that. Maybe there's something behind that. Yeah, all of that takes emotional intelligence, which is something we are strengthening and continuing to cultivate during this Emotional Intelligence Awareness Month. All right, so, man, we're going to wrap this up. This is a lot to chew on, and I really could break this down into episodes. Each one of these could be its own separate episode. But just to kind of wrap this up, we're talking about, and when we talk about ways to build emotional intelligence, of course, it starts with awareness. And some things you can do, just some physical things you can do, is to keep a log of your triggers, your feelings, helpful responses for, do that for a couple of weeks. I know that when someone now, when I kind of feel offended, first of all, I have to acknowledge that did kind of offend me. And I will go back and say, why did that offend me? A lot of times, I'm looking at me and not that the other person meant to offend me, and maybe they did, but I try and take it as, why was I offended? All right. Especially if I think the person did not necessarily mean to offend me. And so, but just, triggers, I find that it's really, really helpful to admit your triggers. To know your triggers are very, very important. That helps with your emotional intelligence, your regulation skills, slow breathing. Yes, take a deep breath. So this is another thing that deep breathing will help you to do. It will help you to strengthen your emotional intelligence, taking those brief pauses, reframing your language that turns into judgment, observing, noticing what those tools are that will help you stay calm. All of this helps with emotional intelligence. All right. So we're going to, make it nice and brief and short, a lot to chew on there. So after having heard and been a part of this episode of the podcast, Matt, do you kind of better understand what emotional intelligence is now?
Oh, yeah.
Has that helped?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. Well, it just helps to even sometimes just talk about it and to know it, to hear it. I often say a lot of stuff we've heard before, but things bear repeating, and the more we hear things, the more they can sink in, the more we think about them. So I hope this episode has been helpful to you. Emotional intelligence, celebrating, all right, and acknowledging the month, October being Emotional Intelligence Awareness Month. All right. So thank you for joining me for another episode of Take a Deep Breath with Yvonne Daniels. All right. We are giving ourselves and our bodies permission to relax. So Matt, you know what we do at the end of each episode? Let's take that last.
Yep. Take a deep breath.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode. You can also check out my blog, Deep Breaths and Taste Buds, at blogspot.com. Like, share, comment, take a deep breath with Yvonne Daniels, the podcast, and I will see you on the next episode.